Thanks for tuning in to your Day Off podcast, hosted by your boys, Corey and Tony.
I think by the end of today, I might have another best friend.
They're committed to making you fall in love with the hair industry, one podcast at a time.
You're going to grab a lot of information. Yeah, you're going to learn a lot.
Presented by Hairndustry.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is it.
Your Day Off podcast will begin after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, welcome back to Vision to Venue. I'm Corey Gray.
And I'm Katie May.
I think we nailed it.
I did.
Well,
you did. We did.
We nailed it. Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about, and I'm going to open up with saying this, Katie, is that when we did our very first event in 2019, before we were veterans, when we did our very first event in 2019, I didn't know what a sponsor deck was. Somebody asked me for a deck, and I'm sure I got that blank look on my face.
Right?
No clue.
You're like Jim on The Office when he's asked for the rundown. He's like, yeah, I'll get that rundown to you real quick. We're like, yeah, sponsorship coming through your email. 20 minutes.
We've got a deck for you.
Yeah.
So now, since then, we've probably written no less than 50 decks. Now we use a deck for everything. What a sponsor deck does is it allows you to have clear communication with, potential sponsors, potential artists, it just allows you to have clear conversations with them. And it's also, certainly when you're talking about brands, it's how they like to communicate, and you're laying everything out, the entire weekend, the event and everything in your deck with that. Now, I said we lay everything out, but also, through some counsel from some of our good friends, Dana Ranger and a few others, they also you also want to keep it short, concise, and to the point. So it doesn't need to be very wordy. It's better to dress it up with pictures than it is with words, because as most people know, you're just not going to read everything. But with that, we're just going to kind of break down what a deck is or what should be in it, and how to navigate it a little bit there. Especially when you're talking, I think we'll set this up as as a brand deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll set it up as a brand deck,
Yeah.
and then if you need to do an artist deck or anything like that, just kind of take out or add the things that would be different.
Well, it's they're the basic same, but the end viewer is who you are trying to talk to. So whether if it's a sponsor, you're trying to lay out exactly everything that is going to be provided for them, or what you want to express to them, any expectations, that kind of stuff. If it's an artist, same kind of thing, right? It's like you're setting up the expectation or what you're expecting from them, or you know what I mean? Just so someone can look through and read it, and all the information is there. You don't have to have the conversation to explain it. They can see it right there, clear and concise in the deck.
I will tell you this too, and I don't know if this is directly related to decks, but brands want sponsorship opportunities. Early on when we would have these conversations, I definitely had the conversations from a position of oh, do you want to play in my play box?
Yeah.
In my sandbox, do you want to play in my sandbox? And that's definitely changed, because over the years that we learned that they want the exposure. If it's a product company, they want to put their product in the hands of people, and you give the opportunity for that. So what I'm saying by that is always position it as this is an opportunity for you. Even if you don't feel that in your heart, position it as this is an opportunity for you. And the more you do this, you'll realize that they want these opportunities. And by the way, if they don't want the opportunities, they're not the brand for you. Period.
Yeah, don't get hung up on it.
Yeah, don't get hung up on it.
Definitely done that.
And yeah, for sure. We all do. That's the process of this, right? That's the process of all this. It's when you do these things, there's a little bit of validation that's tied to money or to opportunity or whatever.
Well, you have this spark of this idea that you think would be amazing, and then you go to talk to someone within the brand about it, and they're like,
yeah, exactly. And
maybe not.
And by the way, they're not the one. So, anyways, let's get into it. This might be a longer than normal one.
It definitely will be.
It definitely will be.
A lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about with decks, which is funny because we're keep it concise.
I know.
We'll do 50 minutes on it or whatever.
No, not that long.
So, Katie, you're the one that does our deck. So just kind of walk us through from cover page to like the back of the page. So what should the front of, and by the way, we do all of the decks in Canva, right?
Yeah, yes, I operate within Canva 95% of the time. And then Chat GPT I use a lot too for verbiage, or even now like the imagery sometimes. I mean, and there's AI built in Canva, so that's even getting better with like how you're doing it. So and Canva's great because they have, if this is like your first time doing it or you're not really sure where to start, they have templates set up for you. So you can do like
So
a plug and
do they have deck templates set up?
they do.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, it's I think it's worded like sponsorship presentations or
Hmm.
things like that. Like there's definitely something for sponsors. You just type in that word when you do the search and there's templates that come up. I think they're mostly like 3 to 5 pages, and I would say typically ours can be as long as 23 pages. Now we're not sending all 23 pages out to each sponsor, but you create slides for each thing that you need, and then you can kind of pick and choose the pages that you want to send, which is also why Canva's great because you have full control.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And
Yeah.
so, and what she means by that is once again, sometimes we'll like sell like a bar sponsorship. So they don't need to see the full deck. They don't need to see the full like packages that we're offering, but it's specific to like, again, to a bar sponsorship, or we do a VIP sponsorship, same kind of thing. So we just manipulate the deck for the pages that we need. And with that too, if we're pitching the deck to like, again, the bar one, if we're pitching it to a brand, it's also nice to see their name on it as well, right?
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
it's really nice to be like, here's how, and sell it as such. So here's the bar, and here's your brand all over the bar. This is how you can use the bar. This
Yeah.
is how you can
And
do it.
creating like the images with the AI. I've created stuff before where I've put the logo on like a shirt or something, and you can like literally give them the visual
That's
of,
great. And
what it's
then
going to look like.
you
Yeah,
kind of get visual buy-in before you even get buy-in,
totally.
which is really nice too.
Yeah.
All right, so back to so what's the very first page? What
Cover
could that look
page.
like? Yeah,
Cover page. It needs to have like an idea, theme, color scheme, whatever for what the event's going to be with the title.
So that's like the title of the book. This is
Exactly.
this is it.
And the date.
And the date. And also when it comes to color scheme, Katie and I, we've had this conversation a couple of times, via text or whatever. But there's some really great stuff, even on like Instagram and stuff that I've said that says that like, hey, if this is your audience, this is the color scheme to use. And we talk about that a lot. So if you're selling a Rolex, or this is your thing, they use a lot of blues and greens and stuff in their messaging, and that's really it's just a really good resource to have. So as you're creating your template, to be like, oh yeah, like who's your audience? Is it Rolex? Is it Home Depot? Or is it
Well,
McDonald's?
and at this point, you should know who your audience is, who you're speaking to exactly. So that I forget that you sent me this like actual Instagram page that like broke down each color and like it was really cool. So I know there's a name for that and I can't think of it right now because of course we're put on the spot.
Put on ChatGPT. They don't know.
Yeah, yeah. But before designing it, definitely have that broken down, before you even get into the sponsorship deck. Like this stuff should already be kind of right.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
and we have our hair distry, the colors. You
Mhm.
can plug in your in Canva. What's it called? The brand,
Yeah,
our brand
it's a brand
colors.
template. Yeah.
Yeah, you can plug that in to Canva too. So it could just be your brand colors if that's what you want to do too, and keep
Sure,
it
for
really
sure.
clean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
for sure. So the cover page is kind of, what is it? What is the event? What's the event? And it's just it's like a flyer almost, the cover page.
Yeah, the front page I keep really short and sweet with like the title and the date, and then that next page is a breakdown, very simple, clean. This is where chat is great because you can throw all your jumbled ideas and describe it to a T, 3 paragraphs long into chat, and it'll give you like a 5 sentence,
Yeah, paragraphs or
description. Yeah,
something. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Yeah, that's really good. So and when it comes to from the brand's perspective, they they don't want a lot of words, right?
Right.
You know, and they
Short
don't
and
want
sweet.
exactly, and they don't want to be like sold to. They just kind of want to know what the deal is. So then the next page is we go over like the goals
The
and
goal of the weekend, yeah. So, I mean, just using Presley Poe and Friends as an example, it's very much, elevating the industry, bringing everyone together. It's all inclusive, it's equitable. These are kind of keywords that we use every year that really are, that drive home who we are and who Presley is. And that's something for your goal. You're really just trying to get across to the brand or even the artist, like
Mhm.
depending on who you're making the deck for, what you're trying to achieve.
And the also with that, if you've done other events, is make sure to mention that, so like this
Yes.
is our 5th year. So proof of concept goes so incredibly far when you're talking to brands. Like if you've already done this, it's really hard to get started and people want to be involved, but once you've done it a couple of times and you have proof of concept, it's much easier to sell your position. And I'm sorry if this is your first one. Unfortunately, that's just the knocks. That's just
Hmm.
the knocks. But once you have proof of concept, it's a lot easier to sell sponsorships. You have previous sponsors that hopefully want to be involved, and B, just they've done this, they know what they're doing. It comes down to a little bit of trust as well. So that would also kind of be the place where like this is our 5th annual, or something like that. The other thing too that brands want to know is how many people are going to be in the room. How many people can they touch? So this is a good place for that as well. And then I'm sure that they have some kind of calculation that says like, how much money am I willing to invest to reach this many people? But
It's
so,
very interesting with the intimate events starting to take off. You have to get a little more creative with what the ROI is going to be on the
mhm,
brand because if you only have 200 people, or less coming in,
mhm.
how full circle can you make sure this brand is represented well and and they're helping the attendee, you know what I mean? You just want to make sure the ROI is a little more dialed in, I think.
Yeah, and for a brand, the ROI is return on investment. We did a little bit of that, just to briefly like discuss that real quickly, briefly and quickly.
Yeah.
Uh, it's again, we sell, VI. Just look for every place where like maybe a sponsor makes sense, and as you're pitching this to said sponsor, make sure that it makes sense for them to be there. Whether it's the bar sponsorship, if it's a super clean like company, that might not be the place for the bar sponsorship, but there's some other brands out there that are known for being a little bit more fun than that.
Well, or if it's a bar and it's a clean brand, then it's a juice bar.
Oh, there you go, there you go, with booze maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Throw
We'll
a
see.
shot in there
Yeah,
randomly.
exactly, whatever. Whatever. On the next page, we usually go about who the artists are going to be involved, or who the people that are going
Yes,
to be involved.
yeah. Yeah, because obviously that's going to be a lot of the draw. And also, if you have a sponsor who's bringing in an artist, that, we've talked about that, like them having stage time or being represented is incredibly important. So, whoever is already committed or whoever is going to be your educators coming in, you definitely want to have them in your deck.
And on that, it's also a good idea that if any of your artists have relationships with other brands, that you reach out to those other brands and say, "Hey, I'm working with X artist, and they, have a contract with you. Would you want to sponsor? Or could you sponsor like that space too? That's an angle as well.
Yeah. And
Even
then you're
even even
diving.
if they have multiple brands, right?
Yeah.
So even if like we've worked with Babyliss in the past, and we hope to continue to work with them in the future. But even if some of their artists have multiple brands, yes, they're there representing Babyliss, and Babyliss brought them in. But maybe you could get like a wet brand or something that they work for to come in and sponsor some of the event as well. Even if they're just in the room with it, sometimes it's nice.
Keeps it authentic to the artist you're bringing in too.
Yeah,
If
for
you're
sure.
bringing in the people who support them.
For sure, for sure, for sure. On the next page, this is really when we start talking to the brands directly.
Oh, wait, real quick.
Well,
Sorry
yeah.
about the educators you bring in. Something that I was told is very important that I've been doing the past like 2 or 3 years now that I do think is impactful is their reach.
Oh, yeah.
So you do their handle and then literally across all social platforms, how many followers they have.
And what we've learned as well is that, to Katie's point, like you don't have to say Instagram followers, but you can say social media following. So
Yeah.
if they have like a big TikTok following, or if they have a big YouTube following, you just add all those numbers up and go like, their reach is X, their
Yep.
reach is 1 million, or their reach is, 10,000. It doesn't matter. We just add all those numbers up. And we add all those numbers up, and that's their, social presence, or that's their reach.
And it also becomes ROI for the sponsor, because if we're using people where we combined have, 4 million people in reach,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? It's way bigger than your, intimate event that is still very impactful, but just think of the reach at that point.
Yeah, for sure. The eyes on the prize kind of thing, like the literal eyes on the prize.
Yeah.
Next we always talk about like the location and the dimensions. And when we talk about dimensions, yes, it's about the location, the dimension of the room, but again, most importantly for the brands is like, where can I set up? Like, how much space do I have to set up? And again, this is also another time to be creative. Like, we actually, at the beginning of our show, we actually have like a demonstration booth, and now what word am I looking for? We sponsor that up. This is a demo. This is a demo booth. Bring your brand, bring your best artist, and you have a captive audience. Like at the beginning of a show, if there's nothing else going on, it's a great time to grab attention.
Well, and for us, the dimensions are so important because the room that we use has a like level up stage that goes all the way around the room. It's about 3 inches, 4 inches, around up, a step up, and it it kind of separates the main floor from this like, area around it. And the dimensions of it are so important because it's, infinitely long, but it's only 5 feet wide. So for someone who's setting up there, they need to know specifically how big of a space they have to work within. We also have opportunities for posters that, brands can sponsor through, and we need to give them the exact sizes of that so it doesn't look wonky and, sticking out the side in any way. I mean, those are the type of things, like anywhere a brand's going to post something or put a banner or, have a booth, like those dimensions are incredibly important. And again, I have like a little map that I drew out of the goddess room, the main room where the event takes place, so that they can have that visual of what it looks like. Because when you're trying to describe, like, people are probably listening to this like, what the hell did she just say? Like, what? How?
No,
What?
sure.
A step up?
For sure.
Trying to describe that, it's just you have to have a visual. So, and even if you're in somewhere cool, like we were in Hagerstown at the State Theater, and that place is epic, and it's just like a theater, like you can imagine. But there's little stage space off to the side where she probably could have set some banners or something up.
She did upstairs.
No. I mean, in the theater
Oh,
section,
yeah.
like off to the side, there's like the presidential, seating area. You could utilize that. You just as clear as you can be, again, so that someone can read this and they don't have to come to you and ask questions.
Yeah, you want to minimize the questions. You want the
Yeah.
questions to be about how can I show up, not about like how can I make this work.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you've broken through, like you want to shorten those conversations as well. And the next page is the big page. This is the one where they'll always go to level of sponsorship. Now a couple things with the sponsorship. We always like do like, what would we like to get from a brand? We make that our middle package. And then the top is like a reach thing, it's a reach package, right?
Well,
So
think about the involvement. Like, how do you want the brand to show up? And you want to give them options, right? Because if maybe they want to be a part of it, but they can't really invest a lot. So you want to have a smaller package where they can either be in the swag or on the website, some sort of involvement that gets them seen and makes them a part of it. But, they can't really do. The middle package is always what we shoot for. That's like kind of it's a good investment and they're seen. But then the bigger packages are for the epic involvement, the bringing in the educators.
well, the middle package is the middle package is set up so you're going to be a part of the group. The platinum packages is how as you as a brand is your head going to be above the rest of the sponsorship. And that's what a platinum thing is. Now with that, what's ROI for them, or what are they interested in? On the top one, we give exclusivity. So that means that, if you are a hot tool company, then we're not going to bring any other hot tool companies in. However, like our lesser package, we're not giving that exclusivity. And guess what? Maybe there's, three other hot tool companies that are going to be there as well. And you'll kind of know, or hopefully you'll kind of know.
Well,
Certainly
this
after
is
the
how
beginning.
we do it, right?
Yeah.
This is because we've needed sponsorship money to pay for the event. Like maybe you're fortunate enough where you have money to put this on and you just want to get as many people involved because it's your first year and you just want to have them be a part of it. So you could just have everyone do like 500 or $1,000 contribute and give everybody the same. And it's just you kind of reach as many as you can to like have their name on your event. That's another way, but it's important to start with the budget and know what you need so that if you need the three-tier system, you do that. We have the three-tier system, and then we also have little special things like
Hmm.
Corey mentioned, the bar, things like that we do that really show a little more engagement, I think.
Hmm.
Create an activity or some kind of immersive thing that the brand can do to help the attendees be a little bit more interactive, but you just really want to keep it simple. The only reason we've kind of branched out and been able to split off and do smaller things is because we've done this so many times now. We see where things can
They can
be
bring
owned by
value.
a
Yeah.
brand
Yeah.
and they can
Exactly.
bring value. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it also takes a little bit off of our plate when a brand owns something and we don't have to plan that whole piece
Yeah, for
out to a
sure.
T.
For sure.
But, keep it simple at first when you're doing this, and I suggest the three-tier. I think it's worked great for us from the beginning, and you learn your audience, you learn your community, and you hone in on the thing that you're creating and what you need, and then you can branch out from there.
100%. Also another thing that we do that brings a little bit of value is we do like a program. So we print up a program.
Yeah.
Now I will tell you this: printing up a program is expensive. It's going to be way more expensive than you think it is. It's about $3 or $4 a book, and that's if you buy 500 of them. It might be a little bit more than that if you're only buying 100 or 200 of the books. But it's also a great opportunity for like local like restaurants saying, oh, you're gonna have 200 people here. Here, let me put in like, get $3 off your chicken nuggets or something like that. It's also a great space for if you're working or talking to smaller brands, actual hair brands, and they just don't have a lot of money to invest. But maybe they'll do, like a half a page advertisement in the book with the QR code to try to, kind of to try to reach it. But normally through the sponsorships, you're gonna be able to pay for the book and you're gonna be able to add more pages so you can make some dollars there. And by the way, um, that's money that once the book's printed up, there's no more effort that goes into it, right? So it's
Mhm.
not anything that you have to do the day of. Is no way, but you've already like brought in some money for that as well, which can also help you pay for your event
Yeah, and
as
gets
well.
brands involved on a smaller level,
Hmm.
if they're not
But
really
even but
sure.
yeah, and even like local, like I said, local restaurants or something, something that's actually in the community. Like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's worth a couple $100, to try to bring people in. That's we found that
Yeah.
that's helpful as well. So that's the level of sponsorships again. Everything from an ad in the paper to like a title sponsorship. Actually, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Like on our top
Okay. Yeah.
tier, we actually above our top tier, we have another tier that isn't in the sponsorship book, because normally you need to like work this out before you actually do the book. But like, do you have a title sponsorship? And what is it? What a title sponsorship is that a couple years ago we had Babyliss Presents, like their name is top billing. It's above every other name.
It's a partner or a feature. Those are just other words to think about. Or,
Exactly.
they're all the same.
Those are hard pitch ones, meaning like you need to have a relationship with the brand, but maybe it's
A relationship?
a relationship. Back to that, you really need to have good relationships, and at least we've learned from that it's
Good
it's a hard thing to
relationship.
kind of send like a pitch or a pitch deck out and say be part of this. So we kind of do that.
Yeah, those
Um,
are like I have found for us that where it's been successful is having a good relationship within the brand and them wanting to work with us or them seeing the value
yes,
without us having to talk about the event. So
yes.
we didn't have a feature sponsor till last year. That was the first time we had like our big partnered feature
Mhm.
sponsor and it was incredibly successful. But again, it took us 4 years to get up to that. So
Yeah, for sure.
but definitely something that's super valuable when it comes to your events. And something else that I think is really important, because you want to keep this very clean and concise, you can have they're all on one page, right? Like you could put, if you have
The
three
three tiers.
yeah, if you have the 3 tiers, put them on one page and give kind of like a small breakdown within each one. Keep the things that stay the same through the tiers and move them down, and then whatever's new, add to on top
As
of
you're
that
moving up,
through the list.
moving up the
Yeah,
tier. Yeah.
exactly. So then, but then I do a breakdown on each page. So like the level 1 sponsorship will get its own page broken down, the price, like just so it's clear and not cluttered. Some people read the list 3 out and they're like, boom, 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 done, that one. Some people, it kind of feels like overwhelming. So you go into where they're broken down, and that's just a visual thing that I found helpful.
Yeah, for sure. That's really helpful. Again, for the reader, remember these are people and brands
Right.
that are reading. And also, depending on how big or for most brands, it's all about like, all right, what's my investment and what's my potential getting back? So sometimes we have to oversell like, well, the ROI is about the community and the ROI is about that. We have to sell that too, but that's just part of it.
And also opportunity for more images.
Opportunity for more images.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the who, what, when, where, and how, and make sure that you put your contact information. And so whoever the lead is going to be with arranging conversations or arranging whatever, make sure that your contact information is down. What is that? That's an email address. Maybe it's a phone number. Maybe it's not a phone number. Depending on how vulnerable you want to be in that. But leave an email address and your name, of course. So,
And a thank you.
and a thank you. Yeah, definitely.
Thank them for their time. And
thanks for the time, and thanks you not for the opportunity because you're giving the opportunity. But even to backtrack a little bit, like even when you're writing this, write it as their opportunity. Again, not
sure.
That should be the perspective. And this is your opportunity here, and be more alpha in that sense. And then lots of like we started off, like lots of images. Again, if this is if you've done it in the past, we use a lot of our images from the past. They can kind of like see the smiles and they can see the hugs and they can see everything that's going on, and it just creates that environment for them. So yeah, what do you have to add about like the pictures and stuff?
Yeah, no, definitely for if you are doing previous years, hiring a photographer to take some professional image, no matter how big or small, those images you want to use throughout your deck so that they get somewhat of a feel, of how your event looks, how it feels, how it connects to what you're trying to do. I think images are a great way to kind of break up the monotony of all the words too, because you do have to put a lot of information in these things. And you don't want to, you want to make it somewhat creative, it is corporate people you're talking to, but they still like,
Sure.
the flourishes and things like
people,
that.
right?
Exactly. And they are in the hair industry. So color and, images are really important.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And also, I mean, to be honest, it's really nice when they're looking through our deck. They go, "Oh, look, Sam Villa did it." Like when they actually see like a face, like certainly of a bigger name for us, like a bigger name face in the deck, and be like, "Oh yeah, we know that guy." It's a little bit of I don't want to say validation, but it's validation in that we've done this before and we know how to do it. And that you get your kind of, if we have a picture of Sam at our event, it's kind of Sam's stamp of approval. Even if he had a terrible time, it's still like
well, and if you're talking to the artists, like if it's a deck for the artists, then
Same.
what I actually do is put a page of artists we've worked with in the past, because then these educators, it's validation for you too, for other people that have worked with you. They could reach out and talk to them and see what their experience was if it's something they've never done before.
Certainly when we talked about like you vetting the artist, well, the artist should also have the opportunity to vet you.
Yes.
And vet your event. But again, that's after you've done it for a few years, we found that's really helpful.
Yeah. And with the artist deck, I would suggest it being way smaller.
Yes, maybe one
like
word,
3 pages.
Sure.
Hello and thank you for your time. Maybe even a video of you talking to them, not really like written out stuff, and a thank you. Can't wait to work with you. Very simple, short and sweet.
Yeah, you're not selling them the same, right?
The artist, it's more beneficial, and usually it happens where you can have a call with them. You can get on a Zoom and you can walk through everything, like especially for our event, there's lots of details that, they're not going to have experienced with other things that they've been a part of. So it's more beneficial for us to just hop on a call with them. However, you do need to have something that you can send to the artist right off the bat, and they get a feel for exactly what it is they're going to be a part of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Something else, I know I'm going to say this 12 other times, but
please.
Something else that you can add to the deck that I think is incredibly important. One of our missions is to be inclusive. And by doing that, we incorporate hard of hearing and deaf community into our event. I put that in the deck because I need to make other sponsors aware that we do this. So if you have if they have a video or something they're bringing in and they're doing a presentation, it needs to have closed captions. We bring in an interpreter. I would highly suggest for them, if they're doing a class, if they're going to be teaching education, like a sponsor is going to have a classroom or, have a presentation of some sort in your event, bringing in an interpreter or someone. I mean, you just want to be super inclusive. And by doing that, you are putting in your deck that this is, I don't know if I'd say a requirement, but absolutely a strong suggestion.
It's important. It's important.
It's
important
very
that you show up for everybody that's there.
It's very important. And it's definitely, you want to be in the deck explaining these things out again, so there's no other questions and the brand knows exactly what to expect out of the event.
And just for them to be aware, right?
Sure.
To be aware of who's in the room and how, the word inclusive is thrown around all the time, but
what does it mean?
What does it mean, and how are we showing up when it comes to inclusiveness?
Exactly.
We get into that, and again, for Presley, if you've ever spent a couple minutes with Press, you're aware of how inclusive that she is. She wants to be.
Totally.
So, anyways, I think that's it. If you have any questions, just reach directly out to Katie May. I'll give you her phone number. If you you text me, you can give her a call and we can talk about it. No, but honestly, if you have any questions, definitely reach out to either on Instagram at Hairdustry or at Hairdustry Host. We manage both of those accounts, and we can, if you have any questions, we'd love to answer them. Actually,
absolutely, yeah.
We'll see whatever we can do for you guys. But hey, man, that's it. Good luck with your next
30 minutes. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, no, it needed to be. It was that.
It was a lot, yeah. And there's still so much more, but we won't go on.
Yeah. It would be a 6-hour podcast, but that's kind of like the overview of what we do and how we see the decks and what we've learned through the past. Because I think at first it was really long and wordy, and we've learned to kind of shrink that down.
Yeah, and hopefully after listening to this, you realize how important of a piece it is when creating an event.
I think it's the most. It's the way that it's a way that corporates and the brands talk. So
I would say it's given us some creativity too for where we can show up in other areas at Presley Poe and Friends with sponsors.
What do you mean?
By writing out these sponsorship decks, and you kind of go into these minute details throughout the whole weekend.
Oh, fair.
And you think about, holy shit, we could put somebody there or have someone, with an interactive activity here, or you know what I mean? It just gives you kind of a broad overview of the weekend, and then we get creative when we go through these things when we're speaking with brands. So I like that about it too.
I love that about it as well. It's just, you're right though, just by writing it, it's like writing in your journal. Oh, okay, that gets it, right?
Totally.
Like you get it. All right, cool. Good luck with your event. Any questions, reach out, and thanks for joining us on Vision to Venue.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, share it with friends, give us a rating, and drop a review. To listen to all the latest podcasts, please subscribe from your favorite podcast outlet. And to stay connected on and off the show, you can follow us at Hairdustry on Instagram and all other social media platforms. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Peace and love.